The restaurant was alive with the sound of clinking glasses, soft jazz music, and the low murmur of laughter drifting from surrounding tables. I sat there in my emerald dress, my heart racing as my husband, Ethan Carter, reached across the table, his hand grazing mine. His smile was easy and assured, the kind that made the world stop for a second. "Happy anniversary, Claire," he said quietly, raising his champagne glass. I returned the smile, warmth spreading through me. But before I could respond, he added something that stopped me in my tracks. "Did you like the jewelry I sent?" I froze. For a moment, I thought I had misunderstood. I blinked, scanning the table, as if the gift might appear between the plates and candles. "Jewelry." My voice cracked slightly. "What jewelry?" Ethan's smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. Slowly he turned his head, his gaze locking onto my family sitting at the next table. My parents, my sister, and her smug husband, who had decided to surprise us by crashing our anniversary dinner. My mom's fork clattered onto her plate, and my dad stiffened, his eyes darting away. But it was my sister Nicole who leaned back in her chair, wearing that infuriating smirk that she always had when she thought she had the upper hand. Ethan's voice dropped, sharp and controlled. "Where is it?" A heavy silence fell over the table. My heart raced, and I could feel the heat rising in my face as my pulse thudded in my ears. It was clear my family knew something I didn't. Nicole crossed her legs, slowly twirling the stem of her wine glass. "Maybe it got lost in the mail," she said with mock sympathy, her voice laced with sarcasm. "Things happen, right?" Ethan didn't even glance at her, his eyes still locked on my parents. My father cleared his throat, forcing a laugh that sounded brittle. "Ethan's son, you must be mistaken. Surely it was delivered somewhere else." "No." Ethan's voice sliced through the air like a knife. "I had it sent here directly. A diamond necklace worth more than the car you drove here tonight." He leaned forward, jaw clenched, his hand gripping the edge of the table. "And I want to know why my wife is sitting here empty-handed." A wave of sickness washed over me, my stomach churning. My family had made questionable choices before, greedy, selfish actions that had always left me humiliated. But this felt different. Nicole tilted her chin upward. "Maybe you shouldn't waste that kind of money on someone who doesn't even appreciate it," she said, casting a cruel glance at me. "Claire's never been good at handling nice things." My chest tightened. That wasn't just an insult, it was an admission. She knew exactly where the necklace had gone. "Nicole," I said, my voice trembling but sharp. "Did you take it?" Her smirk only widened, but she said nothing. Instead, she raised her glass as though to toast her own audacity. Ethan's hand slammed against the table so forcefully that the glasses rattled. The sound was loud enough to turn half the restaurant's heads. He didn't care. Leaning in, his voice dropped to a low, terrifyingly calm tone. "If you think you can steal from me and from my wife, you don't know who you're dealing with." For the first time, Nicole's smirk faltered. Her husband shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his hand brushing her arm in a silent plea for her to back down, but my parents remained silent. Not a single word of defense, not even a whisper of shame, just silence. And in that silence, something inside me broke. I realized then that I wasn't just their daughter or their sister. They had always seen me as someone they could use, belittle, or betray with no consequences. But tonight was different. Ethan wasn't going to let it slide, and for once, I didn't want to remain quiet either. I straightened my back, my voice cutting through the tension. "You didn't just steal from him, Nicole. You stole from me on my anniversary. You tried to humiliate me in front of my husband, just like you always do. But tonight, you've crossed the line." Nicole's face flushed, but she still managed to force a laugh. "You're overreacting. He's being dramatic. It's just jewelry." Ethan's eyes blazed with fury. "It's not about the jewelry. It's about respect. And you clearly have none." The table was on fire now. Eyes locked, breath sharp, hearts pounding. My mom finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Ethan, please, let's not make a scene." But Ethan cut her off. "The scene's already here, and I promise you it won't end tonight." I sat there, my heart racing, caught between fear and relief. Fear of what this confrontation would lead to, and relief that, for the first time, I wasn't facing my family's cruelty alone. This wasn't going to end with awkward apologies or whispered excuses. Not this time. And deep down, a part of me felt a sense of anticipation. The air in the restaurant felt thick, every eye on us, as if the entire room was holding its breath. Nicole's smirk had faded, but her pride was too strong to let her back down. She leaned in, her voice sharp and venomous. "Oh please, Claire. Don't pretend you've never benefited from Ethan's money. Maybe I was just balancing things out." Her words hit me like a blade, and the world seemed to spin. My heart hammered in my chest. For years she had stolen attention, moments, even love. But this was a direct assault on my marriage, my dignity, my future. Ethan's chair scraped against the floor as he rose. The sudden movement shook the table, sending silverware crashing. His towering figure cast a shadow over Nicole and her husband. His voice was calm, but each word struck like fire. "You think taking from me is a game? You think humiliating Claire is a sport?" He leaned in, his gaze cold as steel. "You have no idea what you've just done." Nicole tried to brush it off with a laugh, but her hand quivered around the wine glass. Her husband, Daniel, shifted nervously, his voice barely audible. "Nicole, maybe we should just give it back." She whipped her head toward him, fury flashing in her eyes. "Give back what?" she hissed. "Don't you dare try to make me seem guilty when you're the one who is." I fired back, my voice louder than I meant. People were staring, whispering, but I didn't care. My body was trembling with rage, but I wasn't backing down this time. "Admit it, Nicole. You took the necklace. You tried to ruin my evening, thinking no one would call you out. Well, I'm calling you out." Nicole's face turned bright red, her mask of confidence cracking. For once, she didn't have a quick, cruel retort. My mother's voice trembled as she whispered, "Claire, lower your voice. This isn't the place." I turned to her, years of bottled-up resentment spilling out. "Isn't the place? When has there ever been a place? Every time she's sabotaged me, you've stayed silent. Every time she's humiliated me, you've said nothing. Tonight, she stole from my husband. And you're still defending her by staying quiet." My voice cracked, tears welling up with fury. "So tell me, Mom, when do I get to matter?" Her face went pale, lips pressed tightly together, but she didn't respond. Ethan's hand gently brushed my shoulder, steadying me. His voice was calm, but every word was filled with purpose. "Claire, you matter more to me than anything else." He turned to Nicole, his expression hardening. "Anyone who tries to hurt you hurts me. That necklace wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was a promise, and you tried to take that from her." Nicole's gaze shifted around the room, realizing she had nowhere to hide. The whispers from the nearby tables grew louder. She hated being exposed, and Ethan was peeling away the layers of her arrogance in front of everyone. Finally, her voice cracked. "Fine, maybe I saw the box. Maybe I thought you wouldn't notice if you were wrong," she stammered. Ethan snapped, his voice sharp enough to silence the entire room. Daniel reached into his jacket, his face drained, and pulled out a velvet case. He placed it on the table, as if it were burning him. "Here, take it. We don't want any trouble." My stomach churned. There it was, the diamond necklace Ethan had chosen for me. My fingers hovered over the box, shaking, but I didn't open it. Not yet. This wasn't about the necklace anymore. It was about all those years of being belittled, overlooked, erased. It was about my family always siding with Nicole's pride over my dignity. I stared at Nicole, her face pale and twisted with anger. "For once you weren't in control," I said softly, my hand resting on the box. "You tried to take this from me. But you can't take what really matters. You can't take my marriage. You can't take the respect I've earned, and after tonight, you won't take another ounce of my silence." Nicole opened her mouth, but Ethan cut her off, his words final and unwavering. "If you ever try something like this again, I won't just take the necklace back. I'll take everything you think you have, because it's all built on lies, manipulation, and theft. And I promise you the world will know it." His voice held a weight that left no room for argument. Nicole's bravado crumbled completely. She looked down, her knuckles white around the wine glass. For the first time in my life, she was speechless. The tension in the room was suffocating. But inside, something shifted. I stood taller, stronger. Years of suppressed pain and silent endurance shattered, like chains falling from my shoulders. I finally had a voice, and tonight it rang out. The waiter, unsure of how to react, hesitated before offering the dessert menus, as if they were a lifeline. The absurdity of it made me laugh, a sharp, bitter laugh that surprised even me. Ethan pulled me close, his voice low but firm. "We're leaving." I nodded, rising to my feet. My legs were steady, even though a storm raged inside me. As we walked past my family, I felt their eyes on me, heavy with guilt, shame, and resentment. But I didn't shrink. I didn't bow my head. I walked out with my husband's hand in mine, my dignity intact. But as the restaurant doors closed behind us, one truth settled in my chest like fire. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The cool night air hit my face as we stepped out of the restaurant, but it didn't calm the storm inside me. Ethan's grip on my hand was steady, grounding me. But my thoughts were spinning like a hurricane. My family's betrayal wasn't just about the necklace. It was years of patterns finally exploding, and now the cracks couldn't be ignored. "Claire," Ethan said softly, pulling me close on the sidewalk. His eyes searched mine. "You know this isn't the end, right?" I swallowed, my throat tight. "I know they won't stop. Nicole never stops. And my parents, they'll defend her until their last breath." His jaw tightened. "Not anymore. Not after tonight." I wanted to believe him, but the ache in my chest reminded me of every time I had walked away from their cruelty, trying to keep the peace. Peace had always been a falsehood. It was nothing more than submission, and I was done surrendering. I slid into Ethan's car, the quiet heavy between us as he turned on the engine. The city lights streaked by, but my mind was focused on Nicole's smirk, the one that faltered when Ethan demanded the truth. For the first time, she had been exposed. As we pulled into the driveway, I stayed frozen, staring down at the box in my lap. The necklace, the gift meant for me. My hands trembled as I opened it. The diamonds gleamed beneath the streetlight, each stone flickering like fire. Each one was a reminder of what had nearly been stolen from me. Tears welled up, but they weren't born of weakness. They were the result of something I hadn't felt in years: strength. Ethan's voice cut through my thoughts, steady and clear. "Claire, you've let them walk all over you for your entire life. Tonight, you stood up for yourself. You need to understand this." He turned toward me, his gaze fierce and protective. "I'll never let them hurt you again. But you have to choose if you're willing to let them remain in your life." His words hit me hard because I knew he was right. My family's love had always been twisted and conditional. They only reached out when they needed something, money, validation, you name it. I had given endlessly, hoping that one day it would be enough. But it never was. I closed the box, the decision solidifying within me like steel. "No more." Ethan nodded, his jaw softening. "Then we handle this together." He hesitated. "But Claire, when the truth comes out, they'll twist it. They'll play the victims. Are you ready for that?" A hollow laugh escaped me. "They've painted me as the villain my whole life. What's one more time? The difference is I'm not alone anymore." He reached over and gently brushed my hair back. "You're not, and I'm going to make sure everyone sees the truth." Sleep that night was impossible. Every tick of the clock, every flicker of light from passing cars pulled me deeper into the weight of what had transpired. I replayed the scene at the restaurant over and over. The gasps, the heavy silence, Nicole's arrogance, and my parents' refusal to stand up for me. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about a necklace. It was about everything they had taken from me: confidence, joy, dignity. Piece by piece, year after year. By morning, I felt hollow, but resolute. When I came downstairs, Ethan was already seated at the kitchen table, his laptop open. He looked up, his expression serious. "I made some calls last night." My stomach clenched. "Calls?" His voice was calm, but I could see the storm brewing behind his eyes. "To my lawyer, to a few people who need to know what your sister and parents did. They've crossed the line into theft. Claire, this isn't a family issue. This is a crime." My breath caught. I had wanted justice, but hearing the word crime hit me like a hammer. "Ethan, if you go this far, they'll hate me forever." "They already do," he said bluntly. But I don't care about their feelings. I care about you, and you deserve more than their lies. I sank into the chair opposite him, my mind spinning. Fear tugged at me, but beneath it, something else stirred: freedom. For the first time, the choice wasn't about keeping them happy. It was about protecting myself. I looked at Ethan, my voice steady. Do it. His eyes softened as he reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Then it settled. We're not just going to stop them from hurting you again. We're going to make sure they never get the chance. I exhaled shakily, feeling the weight of years lift from my chest. For the first time, I wasn't the silent one at the table. For the first time, I had drawn a line. But I also knew this was just the beginning. Because when you expose liars, they don't slink away quietly. They fight back. And my family wouldn't let their masks slip without a battle. The morning after Ethan made those calls, my phone erupted with messages. Dozens of missed calls from my mom, angry voicemails from my dad, frantic texts from Nicole. All of them asking the same thing. How could you do this to us? I stared at the screen, almost laughing at the irony. How could I do this to them? They stole from me, humiliated me, and now they're the victims. Ethan, already dressed in his crisp suit, glanced at me. They'll try to spin the story. Don't respond. Don't give them the chance to twist your words. He was right. So I didn't. By afternoon, the consequences started to unfold. Nicole's husband called Ethan, his voice trembling, begging to settle things quietly. Ethan put the call on speakerphone, his tone calm but firm. Daniel, your wife stole a diamond necklace meant for Claire. Your family helped cover it. This isn't something that can be swept under the rug. This is theft, and people will know. Daniel stammered, then hung up. By evening, it wasn't just whispers anymore. It was exposure. Ethan's lawyer had gotten in touch with the right people, and the word spread fast. Nicole's smug image cracked under the weight of the truth. Her friends, the ones who adored her glamorous persona, suddenly disappeared. My parents, desperate to protect her, called me again, their voices trembling with rage. You're tearing this family apart. My mom screamed into the voicemail. No, I whispered to myself, listening to the message. You tore it apart the moment you chose her lies over my dignity. That night, Ethan and I attended a charity gala he had committed to weeks earlier. I wanted to hide, but he insisted we go. This is your night, Claire, not theirs. You walk in with your head held high, he said. So I did. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and cameras flashed as we entered. I wore the necklace, the one Nicole had tried to steal, its diamonds sparkling against my collarbone. For once, it wasn't just jewelry. It was proof that I wasn't invisible anymore. As the night wore on, whispers followed me. Not cruel, but admiring. People weren't talking about my family's lies. They were talking about my strength, about the woman who had faced betrayal and still stood tall. Then, just as dessert was being served, they arrived. My parents, Nicole and Daniel. They hadn't been invited, but entitlement had always been their language. Nicole's eyes locked on the necklace, her face twisted with rage. That's mine, she hissed loud enough for heads to turn. The room fell silent. Cameras lifted. Ethan's arm slid protectively around my waist. Say that again, he challenged, his voice carrying like thunder. Nicole faltered, but her pride took over. She doesn't deserve it. I should have had it. I always should have enough. My voice cut through hers, clear and firm. My hands didn't shake. My gaze didn't waver. You stole from me, Nicole. You humiliated me. And for years, you tried to convince me that I was less than you. But look around. I gestured to the crowd, to the people watching her unravel. All your lies couldn't buy you respect. All your cruelty couldn't break me. Tonight, you've exposed yourself. Her face turned red with humiliation. My parents tried to step in, but it was too late. The cameras had captured everything. Ethan's voice sealed it, cold and final. Walk away now, because after tonight, the world will know who you really are. Nicole's lip quivered. For once, she had no comeback. She turned on her heel, dragging Daniel and my parents behind her, their heads bowed in shame. The room erupted in whispers, but I stood tall, my hand gripping Ethan's. For the first time, I wasn't the silent one hiding in the corner. I wasn't the family's scapegoat. I was free. As the orchestra played and the night continued, Ethan leaned down, whispering in my ear, "Happy anniversary, Claire. This is just the beginning." I smiled through my tears, the necklace warm against my skin. My family had tried to strip everything from me, but instead, they gave me something greater. My voice, my dignity, and the strength to never bow again. And this time, I would never let it go.